in the old days you would have had the scavenger, the grafter, the carrier, and those roles were defined. Are the roles slightly less defined these days?
I think it's not set in stone, so I think whichever back row has been picked, you've got to find your way of playing and your own sort of natural balance, and that's what the three of us will look to do on Saturday.
You want to be complementary, you want to have a sort of complementary feel to it. So what elements do you need to have in the back row?
You need to have natural ball carriers, you need to have natural ball players, and you need to have guys that are willing to graft and that are willing to stick their heads into places that they probably shouldn't be. And if you've got all those aspects, then you'll have a pretty successful back row.
So when you look at that back row that you're in, and you've got Johnny at 6, you've got Dents at 8, and yourself at 7. How does that seem to you? How does that mix seem to you?
I think it's a good balance. Obviously, we've got Dents, who's very big and very powerful. He's a very good ball carrier and also very strong in defence. And then we've got Beats, who is a natural ball player. He's very, very talented there, and he's got a lot of skills. And on top of that, he's also very powerful. And then, as you can tell by looking at me, I'm the one that sticks my head into places that they probably shouldn't be.
The other aspect of back row play is to support what's going on round about you as well. So obviously there is the ability for you guys to have your own say in the game, but they're also there to support other players. And when you look at the breaks that were made, the line breaks that were made against Italy, how important is it for you guys particularly to help that centre partnership?
I think it's going to be absolutely vital. You know, as we saw over in Rome, our backs were looking very dangerous, and they're really starting to gel as a unit. So it's up to us to make sure that we are on the end of any breaks that they'll make, because certainly watching them in training, I've got a lot of confidence in them, and I'm pretty sure that they'll be making some breaks in the game.
The maul on Saturday, given the fact that you're playing France, do you expect that to be a kind of principal weapon of the French forwards? And if it is, how do you deal with that?
The French really pride themselves on the maul and indeed the scrum, and they're always very strong in those areas. So we need to make sure that we match it and that we don't let them gain too many yards from both of those weapons. And that's something we've been looking at this week. It's something we've been working on, and we've got a plan of how we can stop that on Saturday.
Without giving too much away, without giving specifics away about how you stop them all, in general, the general principle of negating the threat of a maul, what is it?
I think the simple principle is just to hit it as hard as you can, and when you've got it going backwards, you've got to make sure that you get it on the floor, because if you don't, then they can reset and they can come again.
Is it likely that if we say that fighting fire with fire is a good principle, that you might adopt the maul yourselves early on in the game just to put a marker down?
It's a very good weapon, and it's a weapon that all sides look to use it at some point. It's good for not only gaining yards, but at times it can be used to gain penalties, because if you set them all up well and if you get it going, it's very, very difficult to stop legally. So you can sometimes use that as a way to gain a penalty and then to gain a bit more territory.
What are you hoping from the scrum and the line-out?
We're hoping to impose ourselves on them, but that's the same in every game that we play. We know that if we want to win, we need to perform well up front, and so we need to try and impose ourselves on the French.
Okay, and how much are you looking forward to, given what happened in Italy and the way that the team bounced back? How much are you looking forward to this game in terms of what you think Scotland could achieve?
I can't wait. You know, the thing that impressed me most about the performance over in Rome was it was a place where we'd not won in quite a few years, and the Scotland team were under some pretty intense pressure, And so to see them play and to perform under that sort of pressure, and an example, you know, was no more obvious than the drop goal by Duncan Weir right at the end, was fantastic to see. And we need to take the confidence and the boost that we got from that into Saturday. That's
an interesting part of the game to pick on, because there's been much talk about captaincy and much talk about leadership groups. At that point in the game, Greg was off, you weren't playing on the game, but the team and whoever was calling the shots got Scotland into the right position to win that game. And is that what the leadership group is there for? Everybody accepting responsibility?
Yeah, it's very much set up in the way that we work as a group, and also that the squad and the team, it doesn't rely on any one person, because that's really not a good situation to be in. And I think if you look at a team like the All Blacks, they've got several leaders when he's playing. Richie McCaw's captain, but there's also guys that will step up when he's not involved.